Planned Parenthood announces it will forego its second largest source of federal funding rather than comply with a Trump administration pro-life policy. The nation's largest abortion provider announced it will withdraw from the federal Title X family planning program, ending its access to upwards of $60 million a year. Planned Parenthood said it's pulling out rather than abide by the Trump administration's Protect Life rule, a policy barring Title X fund recipients from referring women for abortions or from co-locating with abortion facilities. Enforcement of the pro-life policy will start September 18th. This announcement came as Congress is away from Washington, D.C. for its annual August recess. Shortly in the show, we will be joined by a pro-life expert from the Susan B. Anthony list for analysis on this top pro-life news. But now we turn to my recent conversation with Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, who says even though Congress is away, it's important we stay on top of the pro-life issue. Here is our recent interview. Joining us now from Nashville, Tennessee is Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
You are joining us from Nashville because Congress is in the midst of its August recess, which is when Congress takes one of its longer breaks from Washington, D.C. But Senator, from your perspective, is this still a time when pro-life constituents can utilize to reach out to their lawmakers and voice their support for the life issue?
They should be utilizing this time. We are all over the state, and yesterday we were on the Plateau. Today we're in Middle Tennessee. So yes, indeed, your viewers should be reaching out to their members of the House and the Senate, because this is the month when they are in the state every single day. They're working corner to corner of that state. They're holding town halls. They're speaking to different groups and organizations. So this is the time to catch them out and about. And I tell you what, I was at a county fair and there were thousands of people there. One of the number one things that people talked about was, thank you for putting the emphasis on pro-life issues. Keep up the good work. Thank you for focusing on affordable health care for Tennesseans and making certain that the government doesn't control health care. And these are things that we are hearing from people every single day.
That is so insightful. Why is grassroots engagement important on the life issue? How does it directly impact you as a lawmaker?
Well, it is important to have that grassroots engagement because your members they want to know what you think. They are there to represent you. And a great example of this is S-105, which is the very first bill that I filed in the Senate. It was a piece of pro-life legislation, and it addresses Title X funding.
You really are leading on the life issue, Senator, and I want to delve into your pro-life bills in just a moment. But Senator, this is such a divisive issue. So how should pro-lifers engage lawmakers who do not hold pro-life views like you do? What's a way to do that that can be productive?
One of the ways this can be productive is for your viewers, as they see an elected member, to thank them for honoring life. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are first mentions. They're first principles. So yes, we should do what we can do to preserve life at all stages. And certainly addressing the pro-life issue with these little babies is so vitally important. Just think about what is happening right now. As people talk about having late-term abortion or practicing infanticide and making that a legal practice, that is so disturbing. That is not a position that stands in respect of life. It is a position that is not in respect of life. And I think that's an important way to talk about it, as this is an issue where you have some of the presidential candidates that are talking about allowing late-term abortion, about having the federal government use your tax dollars to fund these procedures. So this is an area where people can weigh in and should be weighing in.
Senator, I want to focus now on some of your pro-life leadership. You just recently introduced the Patients First Act, a bill that would stop the federally funded research of embryonic stem cells and instead promote stem cell research that does not involve the destruction of human embryos. Why introduce this bill now?
We thought this was an important item to put down. It's right in line with President Trump's proposals, and to just line out that yes, there is important work that is done in stem cell research, very important work, and many cures that are being found. We do know that they can be done with adult stem cells. There's also a tremendous amount of work that is being done utilizing and harvesting stem cells from someone's own body, from the fat layers that are in their body, and this is being used for orthopedic research and treatments. These cures and these therapies are things where the emphasis should be. And there does not have to be the destruction of life in order to achieve some of this work and these goals.
And finally, Senator Blackburn, when Congress resumes in September, what will your top pro-life priority be?
My top priority is going to be to continue to work on this funding, to have that separation there, to be sure the money goes for health care, to support President Trump's position on the stem cell research. And we will continue to make certain that our focus is there when it comes to preserving life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, thank you for your leadership and for your time.
I'm delighted to join you. Thank you so much.
For analysis of the top pro-life headlines, Mallory Quigley joins us now in our DC studio. She is the Vice President of Communications for the Susan B. Anthony List. Mallory, welcome back.
Thanks so much, Catherine, for having me.
We just heard from Senator Blackburn talking about the importance of reaching out to your lawmakers during the August recess. From your group's grassroots perspective, what kind of impact can that make?
Right. Well, it's always important for legislators to hear from the people they represent, whether they're here in Washington, D.C. or at home in their district offices. One of the things that we've heard over the years from legislators and people like Congresswoman Marilyn Musgrave, our vice president, who you know, is that when the district offices, so back at home, start to get a lot of contact, that really bubbles up quickly to Washington, D.C. Perhaps the hustle and bustle of, you know, the day-to-day here in Washington, that some contacts from constituents can get lost, but when you're contacting the district office, especially in great numbers, they're really listening. And a lot of these senators and members of Congress, they're going to town hall events while they're home in the district, they're walking in parades, they're meeting with constituents, and they're spending more time among the people. So when they hear in that moment from their constituents, it's really important that you support this pro-life legislation. It can have a stronger impact than, say, just an email.
When Congress does resume and these lawmakers are back in D.C., what do you expect the pro-life priority will be?
Well, the Minority Whip, Steve Scalise, he has made it very clear, along with Leader McCarthy, that they are continuing to beat the drum and urge their Democrat colleagues to support the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, that 5-month abortion ban. We saw op-eds this week from Whip Scalise, from my boss Marjorie Dannenfelser, Abby Johnson, talking about babies born alive after failed abortions. And I think it's so important, you know, there's so many battles that we're fighting on the pro-life issue, but to stay focused on this legislation and to keep reminding legislators there is room, there is common ground on this issue, and especially getting some of the Democrat legislators who maybe represent districts that are fairly moderate or have previously been represented by pro-life Republicans, that they should sign their name onto this this discharge petition, this legislative maneuver to force a vote on the bill.
Excellent. And we'll tell our viewers how to do that
Absolutely.
in this week's call to action. Now I want to turn to some major news. Planned Parenthood is leaving the Title X program over the Protect Life rule. How big of news is this?
This is a huge bit of news, Catherine, and a huge pro-life victory. This is Planned Parenthood's second largest source of funding, and what Planned Parenthood is doing is revealing their true colors. They are giving up money that was intended for preventative health care services because they want to be able to push abortion on women that come into their clinics. And so this absolutely underscores their role as the nation's largest abortion business, and it's dealt them a significant blow. So I think that this is a huge victory. We have much to thank President Trump for carrying out this administrative rule. And we've gotten exciting news from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is a very unexpected place to get good news. They're notoriously liberal, but they're going to allow the rule to be implemented. They denied Planned Parenthood's requests for an injunction while the litigation goes forward, and we have great hopes that the Supreme Court's going to uphold the law because of the precedent set by Russ versus Sullivan, which was a very similar case under President Reagan.
Planned Parenthood is leaving the Title X program because they do not want to comply with the Protect Life rule. If they did comply, what would that have entailed? And what does it reveal about Planned Parenthood's finances that they would rather not comply and lose these $60 million?
So the Protect Life rule is just about drawing a bright line of separation between abortion and family planning. You can't be counseling a girl for preventative care or giving her contraception in one room and then in the next room performing abortions. Title X has been used as a slush fund for almost 5 decades by Planned Parenthood and other abortion entities. They can use this money for advertising, they can use it to pay the rent, to keep the electricity on. So it's really a money is fungible situation where we're giving Planned Parenthood this extra cash and they're using it in their abortion enterprise. Now, I've seen a lot of news stories that are talking about how Planned Parenthood is going to have to dip into emergency funds to keep providing health care that for women clients that would be Title X clients. This couldn't be a bigger exaggeration. Planned Parenthood has been receiving taxpayer dollars at a rate of $1.5 million a day. So relatively, this $60 million a year isn't a huge loss in their taxpayer funding. We've got to keep fighting for that. We've got to keep fighting to defund them of their Medicaid funding, but this is a huge victory.
Mallory Quigley, Vice President of Communications for the Susan B. Anthony List, thank you for your great insight and putting that into context for us.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.